Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video, in which we will be making a start on a new project. As you might have seen by the title of this video, it will be a cyberpunk costume, but with historical elements. A cyberpunk costume has been on my wanting to make list for a while, since I just love the style. In my case, if I refer to cyberpunk, I mean more the Tron kind of like cyberpunk, so the very sleek black with light up elements, and I just love those aesthetics. Anyway, as I already referred in my wrapping up 2020 video, last autumn I bought an item which kinda set the gears for this costume in motion. And well, basically the entire design for this costume stems from the fact that I now own this item. Or actually, items, because these are my pole dancing boots. I have been pole dancing for about a year now, and even though we do not use heels in classes, it is a style that I might look forward to starting to learn. So I bought a pair of heels and I fell in love with these when I first saw them. I mean, look at that purple sole. Isn't it the most amazing color? So this will be the color scheme of my cyberpunk costume. Black with purple and maybe some hints of blue, depending on what colors I can find for what. So with these shoes in mind, I started thinking, what do I want for my cyberpunk costume? With the sleekness and everything, I have also decided that this costume should be slightly bit on the sexy part. I mean, with these boots, it just should be, but then not the look at me, I'm walking around in a bikini kind of sexy, but more like the leather bike, tight-fitting clothing sexy, if you follow what I mean. So from these boots I decided that, well, I should at least have a pair of tight pants. I'm not sure if I'm going to make those myself yet or whether I will buy them. I'm also not sure yet whether I want them to be leather or go full latex. Yeah, decisions. I decided to first start with some other bits. So then I decided to look for inspiration, and I realized I had a picture saved on my computer, which unfortunately I do not know the artist of, but I love one of the 4 garments that is on that picture. It's this picture. And I just love those flap thingies. So that's something that I might want to incorporate, but what I like less about that is the top parts, because I just want to change that. And then I looked at what I love for silhouettes, and I just like angular, well, tight-fitting clothing, silhouette kind of thing. And then I realized, wait, can't that just be done with stays? Is it not an option for me to take a pair of stays, of which I like the way it looks, and adapt that to cyberpunk? So I grabbed my Patterns of Fashion 5 book, which I got for my birthday last year, and I still really want to make something for it. Yay for having costumes that tick off multiple boxes in one row. So I started looking through the book. There is a pair of stays in here with seam lines that run very much like that, and I think that that will work very well for a cyberpunk costume, as that's again the angular sleekness that I'm looking for. What I'm exactly going to do with the top, I'm not necessarily sure. I love hoods, might do something like that. I've also wanted to make a neck corset for a while, might want to do that. But I guess I'm first going to go with the base items, the boots, the pants, the stays, and then we will work from there. So, the element of lighting, because I want lighting in this costume. I want purple EL wire to match the boots, and I think I have also decided how I want to incorporate that lighting. Because we are working with stays, we are working with either boning or cording. What if we replace that boning and cording with EL wire? EL wire is quite sturdy. I don't necessarily need the perfect silhouette, so if it bends a little, I don't necessarily mind. So why not use EL wire for cording? And that's my plan. for my historical cyberpunk costume. As I said, it's a running progress. I'm someone who makes stuff up as I go, so some things might change, but I think I'll first stick with this basis and then just add all the other stuff on there later. So that means that for now we can already start on the costume before I order the actual supplies, because we can start drafting from Patterns of Fashion 5. This will be the first time that I'm working with a pattern that has to be drafted like this from a book and scaled up. So we'll see what kind of adventure that is, and I decided to also add that in this video. So have fun watching me figure out how to draft this thing, and without further ado, let's start drafting. The way this tracing works is by having the example pattern pieces in the book printed on a grid. You can then count the grid squares and try to draw the line through the squares in the same way. I'm very lucky I have this piece of inch paper left from an old D&D session. It would otherwise have been a giant hassle to acquire one, and you really don't want to work with centimeter grid paper if the book is in inches. So once I found the inch paper, I enthusiastically started drawing the pattern pieces. But maybe I shouldn't do this late at night, and maybe not this enthusiastically. So, after trying to draw out the very first part, I was wondering why it ended up so ridiculously wide. Well, turns out that 4 times 3 is not 16, and apparently 1 square in the book is 2 inches, and I only took it as 1 inch. So let me get to erasing all of this, and then let's try again. And once the previously drawn lines were erased, we can start drafting it properly. With the notion that 1 square is 2 inches, it already starts to make a lot more sense. Well, that is already looking a lot better in proportion. Now, let's do the rest. There are 6 pattern pieces in the book, but one of the pieces is described as being added in later during a fitting. For this first draft, I will be leaving this piece out. It is a very tiny one, and if needed, I can always add it in later. So right now, I will be tracing 5 pattern pieces. Once everything has been traced, we can start cutting them out of the paper. There we go, all pieces traced as is from Patterns of Fashion 5. Now it is time to cut these from fabric and make a mock-up to see what the sizes do. But I'm going to keep that for a next video. Hope you enjoyed watching, and see you guys next time for the next part of making these historically inspired cyberpunk stays.